Yesterday on TikTok, there was a video made by a creator named Aaron Teague, and I'm going to link to the video in the description. And in it, he's responding to a follower's comment talking about how confusing it is that the suspect would go into the King Road residence when there were so many cars parked out front. Now, I've talked about this before myself. That was the one thing that I was very surprised by, that he would go into this house, and by he, I mean whoever it was, that he would go into this house when there were so many cars out front, especially when one of them was that red Jeep, which is said to have been Ethan's. And so if you think about if he was cyber stalking them and he was watching them, he might know that that red Jeep belonged to Ethan. So why would he go into that house knowing there's a chance he could run into, might be a man in there, and knowing that there would be other people in there? And I can't help but yet again think about the Chi Omega murders. Ted Bundy went into a sorority house at 3 o'clock in the morning, knowing there were dozens of women in there, knowing that they were some were probably awake because there might have been some lights on, but at the very least knowing that there were a lot of people in there, which means there was a higher likelihood that he was going to get caught. So why would he do it? Why would he take such a risk? And the same thing for the murders in Idaho. Whoever the murderer is, why would he take the risk and walk into that house seeing so many cars? And after doing a little bit of research, I think I've come up with an answer. Now, it's been widely said that Ted Bundy was a psychopath. Psychopaths, they don't really have a capacity for fear. And since they don't have a capacity to feel remorse or guilt, and they don't have much of a capacity for fear, they probably aren't thinking about the consequences. Because if you think about it, why would they go into the house and commit a crime knowing that a crime is illegal, knowing that they might get caught? Why would they go into the house at all, let alone when there are cars out front? That's what you have to think about, is that somebody who would commit a crime like the Idaho murders most likely is a psychopath. And therefore, they don't think the way you and I would think. There is no remorse, there is no guilt, there is no fear of consequence. And that is why so many psychopaths will go into somebody's house when there's people at home, and they don't think about it. They don't think about, well, what if I get caught? Because in their mind, they don't think they will. I think this answers another question that I have, which is why, when he was finished on the third floor, why didn't he just leave? Like, we know at this point, he started on the first floor. We were told in that 48 Hours documentary that Maddie Mogan was the first victim. Now, granted, we were told this by Steve Gonsalves, and Gonsalves have a tendency to get some details wrong, but just based on what's in the PCA, and just based on the timeline and who saw what, it sounds like he went upstairs first. So if he went upstairs and he had a target, and he met his goal, to put in a less graphic way, he could have come downstairs, and if he heard or saw Xana, like let's say she was walking out of the kitchen. When you go out of that kitchen, you're passing right by those stairs. Let's say he did see or hear her. He had the ability to just stay on the stairs and hide. He had the ability to just wait for Xana to pass by. So why didn't he just take it? Why didn't he just wait for her to pass by and then leave out the kitchen? See, a lot of people think Xana and Ethan were collateral damage because one or both saw the suspect. I don't happen to think that's the case at all. Just because of the mattress and just everything we know. Because if she had seen him in the kitchen, if she had seen him in the hallway near the stairs, there would have been more commotion. there would have been more noise. There would have been running. There might have even been a chance for somebody to scream, even if Xana was just screaming for Ethan. There would have been more of an opportunity for Xana to react vocally. And it doesn't sound like, based on what we know, it doesn't sound like that happened. Which is why I think he was now in that state of mind. He'd gotten a taste for it. He knew, because he probably heard somebody downstairs, whether it was noise in the kitchen, whether it was Xana saying someone's here, he knew that there were more people in the house. And so he decided, well, now that I've gotten a taste for it, and he decided to act. And this is, I don't know if there was a target. I don't know anymore. But what I don't know that there were two targets. If there was, I think there was one. But I think once he got a taste for it, he decided, oh, now I'm just going to kill them. And I don't think he had to. And the fact that whoever would commit this crime had to have been a psychopath. To show that much rage had to have been a psychopath, which would mean they don't have a capacity for fear. They don't have a capacity to consider consequences. So that would be why he would just go to their room and attack them. Now, it makes sense if you think about it. You would have to lack the capacity for fear or lack the capacity for fear of consequence to commit as heinous a crime as this was. You would have to have walked into that house believing you were going to get away with it. And I think that might answer a couple of other questions that we have. Those being, why did he take his own car and why didn't he leave his phone home? Maybe the simple answer is he just didn't think he was going to get caught. You know, we've heard so many people describe him as, oh, he has to be the smartest person in the room. Maybe that's how he truly sees himself, as smarter than everybody else. One of the first things I said about this case when I first started talking about it was, I believed that the police needed him to believe that he was smarter than them, because they did not want him to flee. They did not. I happen to think they were onto him very quickly. I happen to believe they didn't want him to know that they had information on him, so they needed him to think that he was outsmarting them so that he would mess up. Now, I'm going to show you something, and it came from a document, it looks like a application that Bryan Kohberger filled out for a job. And in the section where he's asked to describe his skill set, he starts every single sentence with the word I. Now, I don't know if that means he's narcissistic. I don't know if that means he's a psychopath. But as a writer, I can tell you that overuse of the word I when writing, when talking, usually signifies self-focus. And I help people write their dating profiles, and I always try to deter them from using the word I too much. Because someone reading it might think, wow, this person's kind of egotistical. This person seems to only be focused on themselves. This person doesn't seem to really consider other people. Now, that one trait, not considering other people, not considering other people's feelings, that is one trait of a psychopath. Is Bryan Kohberger that psychopath? We don't know yet. We haven't seen all the evidence. But there are a lot of little things that are starting to add up that make sense now, or where I think things can be answered. Why did he drive his own car? Because he didn't think he was going to get caught. Why did he go into that house when there were so many cars? Because he didn't think he was going to get caught. Because he truly believed he had this all planned out. And we don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. We don't know. But why did he go in there with so many cars? Because he had enough arrogance to think he would get away with it. That's the only answer I can come up with that really makes sense. What I want to know is, why do you think he went into that house where there are all those cars out front? Did he know that Ethan was there? I want to know if you think he knew Ethan was there. Did he know whose car was whose? I don't happen to think he was stalking anybody in the house. I think the target was the house. But I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments.